So here we are. What are 53% of men afraid of from 55 to 64? Well, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's actually retirement. So half of our men are afraid of retirement. This is what the statistics are saying. And 67% of men are concerned they're going to run out of money. Okay. So in this video, all right, I'm going to explain three different things. Okay. But then I'm going to why men are afraid and the origin where that comes from, and then I'm going to show you the better way. Three other things that you can focus on that'll actually remove the uncertainty and the fear. So, but first of all, what I want you to understand is that, like, if we break down the origin of the word retirement, and in fact, what it actually means, it means to withdraw. Okay, it means to go back. Okay, life is about going forward, particularly when this world changing so fast. We've got to be on the front foot. So, but what it means, the essence of what retirement means, it actually means to withdraw from duty. And if you've heard me before, you maybe have heard me say, in the DNA of every man is a warrior. We're designed for a battle. We're designed for a mission. So the last thing we want to do is retreat from duty, okay? But it's got to transform, it's got to change, and that's what we're going to talk about, okay? So because you may have been told to, the old way that did work years and years ago. Get a good education, get a good job, get a good way for retirement, get the picket fence, etc. Okay, and 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that actually did work. Okay, we all know the world is changing so fast. Okay, so what used to work, it's actually outdated. Okay, so this is about new. Okay, this is about new. So, as I said, so in this video, I want to show you some new ideas, some new ways that you can look at the next season different. Because the truth is, and I've been saying this for a very long time, okay, I'm never going to retire. See, when you find your purpose and your mission, right, and it will, like as I said, the seasons change. So how it looks, how you turn up in that purpose will actually change. Okay, the whole world operates under seasons, cycles. 90-day cycles. Hence, we live in the world. We've got to change and adapt. So all right, here we go. So really the fear will depend on these three things, okay? If you're looking at the season change and maybe going into retirement, so to speak. The first thing what men are afraid of is actually their identity, okay? Losing their identity and their purpose, particularly if it's in a career or a business. So that's a big thing for men. I'm going to lose my identity. How do I know that? All you got to do is when you meet somebody, 8 times out of the 10, they'll say, "So what do you do?" And they mean, what is your career? What is your business? Okay. And they'll try and see whether you've been successful in that. So you're going to lose identity and purpose if you don't employ these things I talk about at the end. Okay. So one of the things that men are afraid of is their community, their mateship. That when you go to a certain place and you've got a position, you're somebody, okay, you're going to lose people. You're going to lose, and particularly, I think for men, the biggest thing is, particularly when you're in a business or a company and you've been there a while. Obviously, you've had experience. There's going to be people. I talk about it in my rite of passage for the modern man. We need 3 men or 3 types of men, 3 groups of men. We need to receive from somebody. We need camaraderie with mateship, and we need to be helping somebody. And that's a big what happens a lot. We stop helping others. We stop serving others. Okay, so that's a big thing in the workplace when we pour out our knowledge. We obviously that feels good to men to be able to serve others, and have that community. And the third thing that happens when men approach retirement, they're not challenged. They're not challenged. For a lot of men, they end up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Once they do those things, it's like, well, now what? So they end up on the couch watching TV in winter, maybe with a rug over their knees, okay, with a rug over their knee. And that gets old real quick. And what happens is, because those challenges, remember, the DNA of every man is a warrior. We come alive with adversity, with challenge. So the trouble is, with retirement, you've got all those creature comforts, okay? So then what happens? Your energy goes down. You lose body shape, you lose muscle. I mean, that happens if you're, over the age of 50. You've got to play those cards really right, continually be training and strength training, etc., for your wealth. But what happens is, when you don't have a challenge, when you don't have a mission, energy goes down. Okay, you become too comfortable. But I want to get to the better way, which we're going to do now. So the better way, and I think when you focus on these three things, okay, number one is if things are changing, you're going into retirement, you actually become a creator, okay? You're going to create something new in you, maybe new in your marriage, maybe new, it's a different season. So the old is past. The new hasn't happened yet. I've got other videos on YouTube around the four levels of value. The lowest level is implementation. The second lowest is managing what you know, like implementing. I've always done what I've always done, or you'll always get what you've always got. So your management. Implementation, then management. But when we get to the second highest level, is around communication. Okay, when we can articulate our message, so when we can become a creator, okay, that's the first thing. But the highest level of value is around imagination. This is where I think it's very valuable for men going into retirement, or even just changing season. I'm being honest with you, I haven't said this to many people, but these last nearly 2 years, shifting my family, being in the Mediterranean, in the south of Europe here, it almost feels like a half a retirement. like I made an oath years ago, I ain't ever going to retire. So this is probably what retirement looks like for me. Loving my family, having adventures, serving people, adding value to people's life through my imagination, through educating myself, through upskilling. So the first thing is you become a creator, and particularly when this next season of your life, you create another layer of your purpose, or you create the next purpose for your life. Because if you don't, and I don't want to point the finger at anyone, but they're saying, right, men in their around 60s, or marriages around that age, right, up to 40%, between 30 and 40% of marriages are failing then. That's terrible. And I honestly think it's the men's fault, because they fail to create something exciting for the marriage, the next adventure, the next season. So gentlemen, if that's you, particularly maybe there's something you talk with your wife. What is the legacy we want to leave? What is the impact we want to have? So we get busy creating that. I think that's exciting for a marriage, and particularly with all what we've got available, with all this technology that is available to us, particularly around AI, particularly around, social media, everything. I done another video on this as well, on YouTube, around I believe the most interesting people in the world, they're not the young people, the influencers that are having their impact. They just know how to use the technology. That's all it is. The actually most interesting people in the world are people that have lived the longest, that have the most experience, the most stories, quite often the most failings, which are men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, goodness me. So if we can adapt and really have massive impact and use this technology, man, we are the most interesting people in the world, goodness me. So that's how we get busy creating impact, creating that legacy, build a legacy that will impact the next generation, will impact our children's children, okay? So that's the first thing. If you get busy heading into retirement on this second thing, or even just transitioning in, right? Maybe in your 50s, is around if you focus on connection, okay? If you focus on deepening your relationships, strengthening your relationships, but I believe the most important thing around men in their 50s and 60s is actually serving and helping others. Okay, so when we can really impact others and really connect with the next generation, it's a bit like that sage, who reaches down and helps young men up. When we can really connect, this is what I hear from time to time when I talk to men, particularly around our programs, or maybe they've read our books, etc. They'll say, oh yeah, I've got mates. I've just got a small circle of solid mates. Whereas if you're in the creation mode and you're helping people, serving people, building something amazing and a legacy, right? Your influence should not get smaller. Your impact should get larger. You should impact more people. Man, you should have more influence. You should be serving more people, helping more people. You're going to have a bigger circle of people. That's the point. When you're getting older, you shouldn't get it. If that's really, I don't know who that's for. Let me know if you're liking what I'm saying. Let me know if this is challenging you in the comments. Because if you're of that opinion, I've been focused on just a small circle. Hey, what happens is people pass, people die. That's how you end up doing life on your own. Okay. So this number 2. Is more connection, deeper relationship, wider spread, okay? So the third thing is I want you to focus on, okay, is your health, renewing of your health. It says in the old book, we're transformed by the renewing of our mind. So when we get a bigger vision, when we have more impact, we need to be healthy enough to be able to fulfill on that mission. So you need new health goals, better health goals, okay? But this is what and going to the gym, if that does it for you. But what I would say is, when is the next adventure? What do you need to be fit and healthy for? So actually you're training for the next adventure. You're training for the next trip. You're training for something that's bigger than you, so you have more impact. And I tell you what, man, that's where your energy will go through the roof. That's where your thinking will accelerate. Your energy level will get to the next level. Everything will lift. Your whole vibration will lift when you get excited about the next adventure and who you're doing it with. And particularly if you're documenting that with all this technology we have, man, we can actually create something amazing. And not more than just amazing, we can actually give so much value to the world that some people are prepared to pay you for it. Okay, so for those 67% of men that are worried about retirement, see, I said it before and I'll say it again. Retirement will never happen to me. Why would I ever stop doing what I love? So when you understand your purpose, your mission, and you give so much value to the world wants to give you value back. That's what happens with all this technology, man. What I'm seeing lately, goodness me, I'm seeing so many men around 50s, 60s, even 70s. There's this one guy who actually done, and we'll get a link in here. We've got another Become a Better Man challenge. Okay, next week we've been doing one each month, right? But we're doing a Become a Better Man challenge. You're done in a week. Sometimes I'll do 4 days. Sometimes I'll do 5 days. Okay, So what we're going to do, right, we locate your enemy on day one. We locate what you need from men, what you need from women, what you need out of life in day two. We talk about the culture that you're creating. Remember, environment is stronger than willpower. But we get into that day 4 and we start talking about an assignment, something that is worth going all in on, something that excites you, that will inspire other people. And this is what's happening, okay? We're seeing men even go through that. Bill, right? 74. Thought, man, and he understood what I was saying when, man, the best hasn't happened yet. He's been a business coach for years. He's done multiple different things, helped massive amounts of people, and he's sick of watching TV. He knows there's more in him. Goodness me. So all of a sudden, man, he's like, yep, let's go. Where do we go next? Like, that's what this does. This Become a Better Man challenge does. Yeah, another guy, goodness me, he's recently signed up to our 12-month Man Alive experience, right? He's going into his second marriage. He understands first marriage obviously didn't work, got a massive team of people doing great things, but wants to transition, doesn't know what to do. All right, here we are. You've got to create something amazing going into his second marriage, okay? Knows he needs to create something amazing for the second half of his life. So, hey, we've got the roadmap. This is what you do, but it's more about who do you need to become. It's amazing. It's amazing. Another guy who same deal did our challenge, and he's got young kids, mid-50s. Peter's name is he needs his health to be at the highest level. So he's going to be in his 70s, and his kids are just going to become adults. Like, gentlemen, there's so much on offer here. So if you're afraid or fearful of retirement or fearful of the future, do not be like that, because the statistics are saying 53% are worried about the future. Men, we live in the best times on planet Earth. Like, this is what was said to me a long time ago. A mentor said to me, Gav, and I'd been in I got myself in a really bad spot where I thought I'd blown every opportunity, etc. He said, and he was a card player, and then maybe you play poker, I don't know, but he goes, Gav, if you play your cards right, if you play your hand right, your past will become your greatest asset. And particularly, I believe the most interesting men in the world are men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's the biggest demographic that have the most stories. If you play your cards right, your past will become your greatest asset. I'm telling you, man, your best days have not happened yet if you play your cards right. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. So hey, listen, there's a link. We've got to Become a Better Man challenge next week. It'll be done in 4 or 5 days. It's an hour a day, unless you do the VIP section, which is a little bit more. But gentlemen, what if this is the thing that ignites that fire in you? What if this is the thing that you see? You get the next plan, the next mission, the next thing that is worth your life. Gentlemen, if it is, do it. Hey, listen, if this is not for you, that's totally fine. Maybe you're one of those guys, you just want to spend your days in front of the TV. I wish you well. And I don't mean to be sarcastic, because some people are actually, that is the vision they've got. But if you want to get going and you know there's more in you, I'll see you in the challenge.